Yes, good afternoon, officers. Time for a very important prelims oriented news, which is very important. The topic is places in news. So today we'll be doing January month, all the places which have been covered in January month, which are important and which have very important scope of getting a question. So keeping that in mind, so let's look at the places in news. The first very important place in news is Ivory Coast. This Ivory Coast is here. If you observe this, so Cote d'Ivoire, and you have to understand what are the important places which are surrounding Liberia, Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso, very important, and Ghana. So these are all the things. This is the location. Mapping is very important. Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire. This other name for Cote d'Ivoire is Ivory Coast. Announced. Why it is in news? Because the French troops have withdrawn from this country, ending decades-long military presence. So it was a French colony. So recently all of them moved back. Therefore it became an independent country. So that is the reason why it is very important. What is the location? It's a country situated to the western coast of Africa. So if you observe Africa, Atlantic Ocean, this is where the Cote d'Ivoire is. So capital is Abidjan, very important for prelims. Why this was in news? French recent colony moved. So this gives a scope of prelims question. Why this question can be asked? Because they can ask a question, what is the recent country from which the French have moved? So bordering nations, Mali, Burkina Faso, Ghana, Liberia and Guinea. What is the kind of climate in this beautiful place? It's equatorial climate and southern savanna types of climate is there. And highest point, the mountain is very important, Mount Nimba, whose height is 5,748 feet, 1,752 meters. So that is the length and the height of that particular beautiful mountain. So that is the reason why Ivory Coast is very important for prelims. The second important place in news is Trinidad and Tobago. Lot of news have come about this. So this is where near the North Atlantic Sea. So port of Spain. So this Trinidad and Tobago. So this is where the place is. Trinidad and Tobago declared a state of emergency following a week of deadly violence. About this beautiful country, Trinidad and Tobago is an island country. That means it is surrounded by water on all the sides. And the southeastern part of the West Indies, it is made up of two main islands. One is Trinidad and one is Tobago, along with few smaller islands. So that is a major thing. So this is Tobago, this is Trinidad. So Trinidad and Tobago, all West Indies, all are West Indies islands, but two different islands, but comes under the Western Indies species. So why? Emergency has been declared in that because of heavy violence in these nations. And recently our Prime Minister also visited these places, therefore it becomes more important. So because of the visit of our Modi ji. Next. So the Caribbean islands between the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean northeast of Peninsula, it forms two southernmost links of the Caribbean chain, lie close to the continent of South America. Capital is Port of Spain, that is very important. Bordering nations, maritime boundaries with Barbados to the northeast and Guyana and southeast, doesn't share any land boundary with any other country. So they can ask which of these following do not share any land-based boundaries. So such kind of question can be asked. Next, Chad, very important. This also very important. So if you observe, Atlantic Ocean, African country Chad, Algeria, Libya, Egypt, Sudan, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Cameroon, Nigeria, Niger and Mali, these are all the boundary countries. Foiled attack on Chad's presidential complex carried out by a group of 24 armed individuals. That is the reason why it is in news. So recent incidents, Chad is under military rule, faces regular attacks by Boko Haram. This is very important for prelims, especially in the western Lake Chad region that borders Cameroon, Nigeria and Niger. So rebellious insurgencies happen a lot in Chad. And again, this becomes a very important topic. Next, location, it is landlocked country, surrounded by all land. Capital, N'Djamena, fifth largest country in the continent, African continent. Much of northern part lies in Sahara Desert only. Bordering nations, Libya, Sudan, Central African Republic, Cameroon, Nigeria and Niger. So these can be a scope of prelims question. Which of the countries border this particular country? Highest point, Mount Kausi, 11,204 feet, 3,450 meters wide. Famous lake, Lake Chad is very famous. Why it is very important? Because it is source for gold, oil and natron, which is complex sodium carbonate used as salt in the preparation of soap and medicine. So this will become a scope for prelims question. Natron, what is this? Sodium carbonate, which is used as salt. And why this country is very important? Because it has a lot of gold, oil as well as natron exposures, and majority of it is covered by Sahara, and it is landlocked completely. Next important place, Cuba, very very famous, the only smallest country which literally shook America completely. So, so this is Cuba. Havana is its capital. That is where a lot of casinos and all these things also happen. So recently India sent humanitarian assistance to Cuba for Hurricane Rafael. Therefore, this becomes gives a prelims question. Country in the West Indies, largest island in the region and one of the important countries in the Caribbean, capital Havana, situated south of Tropic of Cancer, intersection of Atlantic Ocean, North and East, and Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea, all of them together. So this is how it looks like. So Gulf of Mexico, Mexico here, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, Belize, as well as Honduras. So, and this is where the Bahamas is, the most beautiful place, beach, Khatarnak it will be. Therefore, it is very important. Next, Point Nemo, very important, lowest point actually. So, if you observe, this is a Point Nemo, Wellington, New Zealand, Rhode Island, Easter Island, Concepcion, Chile. So, this is where the Point Nemo is. This is Southern Ocean. Why it is very important? 2 young women officers of Indian Navy have crossed Point Nemo, the remotest location on Earth, through INS Tarani. That is very important. We did a video on this also. Please check it out. Video done on this. The 2 Indian women are sailing throughout the world. 33,000 kilometers of distance it is doing. Started approximately 2,688 kilometers from near landmass, lies in the southern Pacific Ocean. So Pacific Ocean becomes very important. Oceanic pole of inaccessibility. But our women officers have gone and accessed that point. Dead spacecraft graveyard used by space agencies to deorbit and crash old satellites in space safely. That is the reason why this is very important. This Point Nemo. So all the space waste is all stored there because there is no accessibility and it will not affect human beings. These are all the important places from the month of January. Every place has a significance, some with respect to India, some with respect to geography, some for space waste also. And why this is very important, 2 women officers visiting Point Nemo, that becomes the special point. Therefore, every scope of asking a prelims question from one of these places. Place in news in the month of February. Yesterday we have done January, today we are doing February. First topic is Darien Gap. Why it is very important? Alternative to Pan American Highway. That is a major point. From Alaska to Argentina. So it has become the major route for global human migration. So that is very very important for your prelims. Due to its harsh climatic conditions, it is difficult to traverse, but as the only overland route connecting North and South America, it has become the only option for migrants traveling northward to United States and Canada. Because it is the only route, this Darien Gap becomes very very important for your prelims question. And it has become an alternative to the Pan American Highway. In the decade before 2021, 10,000 people annually took this route and came into the United States as well as Canada. That is very important. Now, why it is dangerous? The Darien Gap is controlled by criminal organizations profiting millions from this kind of human migration. So that is the reason why it becomes very very important for prelims question. So since it's a criminal organizations which are controlling it, a lot of extortion and kidnapping are done at widespread ratios. And because of this, the Doctors Without Borders reported on 1 sexual assault every 3.5 hours in 2023. The Missing Migrant Project recorded 141 unknown deaths. Flash floods are also there. Rapids in the river sweep. Many took away. They are drowned. Extreme humidity, heat and lack of clean water causes severe dehydration in those areas, and which is leading to vector-borne, waterborne as well as fungal diseases are very common, especially in the Darien Gap. Next, that is the whole point. So there's only one scope of question in the previous topic, Darien Gap. Next, Democratic Republic of Congo. This is the whole point. So a lot of boundaries are there. Mapping question can come from that. The Democratic Republic of Congo witnessing severe escalation in conflict as Rwanda-backed M23 rebels in North Kivu province. Location Central Africa, capital Kinshasa. Next, bordering nations Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Zambia, Angola, Republic of Congo, Central African Republic, South Sudan. So if you observe this, lot of countries, this whole thing. So mapping can be asked a question. Question can come from mapping part with respect to DRC. Conflict, no one will ask a question. So climate is tropical, hot and humid in lowlands, cooler in the highlands. Highest point is very important. Mount Stanley, 5,109 meters, and Windsor Mountains are very important. Next, famous lake, Lake Tanganyika, one of the world's deepest and the largest freshwater lakes. Therefore, it becomes very, very important for prelims question coming. Next, what are the important resources which are available in the democratic DRC? Diamonds, cobalt, copper, gold, coltan, tin, uranium, timber, oil, and hydraulic protection is very useful. Therefore, a lot of ploughing and covering happens in DRC. Next, recent events, capture of Goma. Recently, M23 rebels entered Goma, seized the control of that point. Expansion into South Kivu. By January 30th, rebels had full control of Goma and advancing towards Bukavu, capital of South Kivu province. Because of which, this is leading to humanitarian crisis. The conflict has resulted in 1 million displaced people. Therefore, it becomes very important at a global level. Bodies of civilians remain in the streets of Goma. Humanitarian impact, very worst. Rwanda's alleged involvement, the DRC and the United Nations and the Western nations, all of them together, including United States, accused Rwanda of backing that M23 rebels, and because of it, because they are supplying heavy weapons to these rebels to take control over the government. Next, Mount Ducano. This is where it is, Mount Ducano. Ducano volcano, very, very important. So why this is in news? February 20, Mount Ducano experienced significant eruption, column approximately 2000 meters into the atmosphere. It's present in North Maluku, Indonesia on Halmahera Island. So very important for prelims, the location part. The problem is this volcano came up with multiple craters, parts of the volcanic arc formed, subduction of Pacific plate beneath the Eurasian plate. So scope of prelims question, Eurasian plate and Pacific plate. A combination of this can be asked for prelims. On which plates, very regular question, on which plates do you find this particular place called Mount Ducano is placed between which plates? The Pacific plate and the Eurasian plate. Part of the Pacific ring of fire, that can also be a scope of prelims questions coming, where several tectonic plates converge. That is the reason why ring of fire is very important, making it hotspot for seismic as well as volcanic activity. So the plates become the overall important point with respect to prelims questions. Pacific and Eurasian plate. Next, Gulf of Elat. So this is where Jordan, Israel, Egypt. This is called Gulf of Elat. It's also called Aqaba. Aqaba. It's also called Aqaba. Very important. Found that coral reefs. This is with respect to coral reefs. Gulf of Elat underwent 3000 year growth due to global cooling and then later naturally regenerated from deep waters. Gulf of Elat, also known as the Gulf of Aqaba, is a northeastern extension of the Red Sea. So this will give a hope of prelims question. So it is an extension of Red Sea, the Gulf of Aqaba. That's very important. Coral reefs, that's the idea behind it. It is bordered by 4 countries. The 4 countries are Israel, Elat, northmost city, Egypt, Sinai Peninsula, Taba and Nuba, Jordan, Aqaba, major port city, Saudi Arabia, Hakal, Tabuk region. Strait of Tiran at the southern end and connects it to the Red Sea as well as the Indian Ocean. That is the main point of it. So huge scope of prelims question with respect to this. Which countries border? Israel, Egypt, Jordan as well as Saudi Arabia. The Strait of Tiran, very important. Next, donkey routes. Already a video has been done exclusively on this. Please check it out. On the channel it is present. Complete details have been provided on the donkey routes. You can check that also. Illegal migration pathways, especially to Middle East and Europe to Asia, often used by willing migrants and victims of human trafficking. From India, Middle East, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Europe and Belarus and then USA, this is the route. Migrants first travel to Middle East and then move to Belarus and a common transit point for illegal crossings into Europe as well as USA. Next, from India, Middle East, Qatar, Brazil, America, USA, Brazil on tourist business and then from there Colombo, Nicaragua and Mexico to the USA. There is Route C from India, Libya, Central America and USA. Major hub for illegal migration, weak enforcement where people through Central American countries enter the USA via Mexico. Other routes, pathways via China, Kazakhstan, indicating some migrants first travel to East Asia and then Europe before attempting to reach USA. That is how these are Route B, Route C. So that is how the runs. So these are all the routes clearly mentioned. So these are all called the donkey routes. From where? On this, a movie Donkey is also being based. So you can check this out. Next, Sagar Island, recently in news. This is where it is there. So near the Hooghly River, very important. On Makar Sankranti, 10 million devotees will gather there, 100 kilometers south of Kolkata, take a holy bath at Ganga Sagar. Largest in the Sundarbans, therefore this is a scope of prelims question. The Sagar Island, biggest in the Sundarbans archipelago, situated at southeastern tip, spans 30 kilometers. So scope is only which is the largest island in the Sundarbans. Sagar Island, very important. Impact of climate change on Sagar Island. Cyclones. Sagar Island is frequently affected by high-intensity cyclones like Amphan May 2020, then Yas in May 2021, and Remal in 2024, and Dana in October 2024. So these names are very important. Most affected area. Why? Because of coastal erosion and rising sea levels. Island experienced severe erosion and highest sea levels in rise in the country. The sea, which was 1500 meters away from Kapil Muni temple a decade ago, is just 470 meters. That shows the shift. 1500, 1000 kilometers is more than 1000 kilometers. It has shifted. So that shows that there is a lot of soil erosion as well as rising sea levels. That is clearly shown in this. So that is a major reason why prelims question can be asked. Next, tidal surges. Average high tide is typically 4.6 meters, rises 7.6 meters near the temple's beachfront. This is how it is. And it comes under the CRZ, that is Coastal Regulation Zone Violations. Many constructions for Ganga Sagar Mela was done, because of which buildings within 500 meters of high tide line is being prohibited there. That's the analysis of it. Next, Rafah crossing. This is where Gaza city, Gaza. So Khan Yunis is very important. So this is where it is. So the Rafah crossing is this point. So you have to concentrate here basically, the Rafah crossing and closer to Egypt. Now, European Union has restarted civilian mission there. Border crossing at Rafah is the key transit point between Gaza and Egypt. Southernmost tip of the exit of Gaza and borders with respect to Sinai Peninsula, Egypt's. Only two other border crossings into this. One is Gaza Strip through Erez and Gaza and Rafah crossing the Israel from the northern part of it. So next, Mulla Periyar Dam again came into issue. Supreme Court directed supervisory committee to look into issues raised by Tamil Nadu and Kerala concerning the maintenance of the 125-year-old Mulla Periyar Dam. It's a mason gravity dam in Idukki district, operated by Tamil Nadu. 910 year leases there. This is a known fact to everyone. Divert water to Tamil Nadu's Vagai river basin and for irrigation for Madurai. That is a major purpose. Dam's location has become the big problem for Mullaperiyar and Periyar, Mulyara as well as Periyar rivers confluence. Dam includes Periyar Tiger Reserve, so that is a major reason why this becomes a very important question for prelims. Dam's ownership is a problem. Operation is a point of contention between Kerala as well as Tamil Nadu. That is a major point. So that is another point with respect to Mullaperiyar. Next, Khartoum. This is where the Khartoum is. If you observe, Ethiopia, Chad, Libya, Egypt, Halib. So that is a major reason, surrounded by landlocked. Sudan's regular army and paramilitary supports, SRF, have created a problem there. And there was a lot of struggle in April 2023. Clashes have come between the two forces outskirts of Khartoum. So what is it about? Executive capital of Sudan, south of confluence of Blue as well as White Nile rivers. That is a major point. So Blue and White Nile. It's a confluence of these two, therefore Khartoum becomes very important. So they will ask you a question based only on this. That is the maximum point you can get with respect to this particular topic. Khartoum has been focal point of civil war between Sudanese armed forces as well as rapid support forces. That is a major point. And of course the Chawar port, next point. So this is where the Chawar port is. Full video is done. Please check on the channel. Full on channel. Especially with respect to this, what is that and all these things. US President recently issued security for this, highlighting increasing pressure with respect to Iran, particularly about the strategic Chawar port. It is very important for India also. Makaran coast, very important for prelims. Strategic importance, located adjacent to Gulf of Oman at the Strait of Hormuz. So on Strait of Hormuz also, we have done a video in the channel. Please check it out. Next, shipping route. Port serves as shipping connectivity. Markets across Asia, Europe as well as North America. 60% of the global trade happens from here. Unique access. Chawar port is the only Iranian port which has directly access to the Indian Ocean. That is a special point of it, therefore it becomes very important for prelims. These are all the important places in news in the month of February. So please refer. January you will get one question from this. It should be better, we should be ready with all the kinds of important places. And mapping is very important, please concentrate on that part. March we have only one or two important news. So let's have a quick glance. Place is 1UR2. Former IPL chief and fugitive acquired citizenship of 1UR2 via Golden Passport scheme. Basically, a Golden Passport is known as citizenship by investment. Any double verte citizenship vastundi. Foreign nationals to acquire citizenship of 1UR2 a sum of $1,50,000 US ఆల్మోస్ట్ ₹1,00,00,000 దాకా అనుకోండి. ₹1,00,00,000 ఇన్వెస్ట్ చేయాలి. ఈ 1 or 2 అనేది ఇక్కడ ఉంటుంది. బేసికల్గా స్మాల్ గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ ఐలాండ్ నేషన్స్ ఇవన్నీ. It's a small island nation in South Pacific, consists of archipelago of 83 islands ఉన్నాయి దాంట్లో. So that is important prelims question. Border of this is ఎవరు? Australia to west, New Zealand to the north, and between Australia and Fiji Islands. This gives a scope of prelims questions here. What are the features of this beautiful island? Diverse landscape untadi, including rugged mountains, high plateaus, rolling hills, coastal terrace, and offshore coral reefs. And what is the special feature of it? It has active volcanoes. Mount Yasur, known for being one of the most accessible and active volcanoes in the world. So Mount Yasur అనేది చాలా important. Scope of prelims question. ఈ Mount Yasur ఎక్కడ ఉంది అని అడిగే ఛాన్స్ ఉంది. Next. For example, if you look at next important topic is about Black Sea. Recently, Russia and Ukraine have agreed halt military strikes in the Black Sea. Black Sea, large inland sea situated in the southern eastern extreme of Europe. So location is very important between continents of Asia and Europe, bordered by Ukraine to the north, Russia in the northeast, Georgia to the east, Turkey, Bulgaria and Romania. So all this becomes a scope of prelims questions for mapping. What are the important features of it? Marginal seas of Atlantic and Ocean's 13th largest sea. Therefore, that gives a scope of prelims question. Inflowing rivers ఏమేమి ఉన్నాయి? Danube, Dnieper as well as Dniester. These are all the important rivers which are flowing. So apart from this, you will not get any questions. Mapping is very important. North, south, east and west. Next, April month. Some decent number of places have been mentioned. Let's have a quick glance. First, Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. So this is where the Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary is there. Madhya Pradesh. And Kuna Palpur Sanctuary is also very beside it. 2 cheetahs Ganpate Akra were removed from Madhya Pradesh Kuno National Park to Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary located in the northwest frontier of the state. Western Madhya Pradesh. So what is most important? Chambal River. That forms a significant ecological feature of this area. Next, climate. Savanna ecosystem is there, open grasslands. And these are the cheetahs, deciduous trees and riverine valleys. Flora, Khair is there, Sala is there, Kardai, Dwarda, Dendu as well as Palash. So this gives a scope of prelims question. What are the floras which are available? Fauna, rare wildlife like dholes and chinkara is also, ores as well as mugger crocodiles are also provided. So this gives a scope of prelims question. So what is the significance of this beautiful place? Ancient Pinglargar Fort, Chaturbhuj Nath Temple and Bhatkaji rock paintings and Dharmeshwar caves as well as Tarakeshwar Shiva temples are the beautiful points. So prelims question. So each of the point gives a scope of a prelims question being asked, especially with respect to this particular sanctuary. Next, Similipal National Park. It's a tiger reserve. So recently has been accorded national park status. Therefore, this becomes a scope of prelims question. A tiger reserve, Similipal, has been projected as a national park. That status has been given. Therefore, scope of prelims question increases. And Odisha government has formally recognized it. Where is it located? Mayurbhanj district of Orissa. So this gives a scope of prelims question. Where is that sanctuary which has been given the new national park status? Therefore, the place is very important. Protection, Similipal is also a tiger reserve, wildlife sanctuary and biosphere reserve under the UNESCO's Man in the Biosphere program. So every point is very important for prelims. One question will come. All these details become very important. Next, climate, tropical monsoon climate with hot summers and cool winters and moderate heavy rainfall. Fauna, if you observe, Royal Bengal tigers, 25% of Odisha's elephants, and the world's only wild melanistic tigers are 360 bird species. Therefore, this gives only world melanistic tiger. So therefore, this gives a prelims question. Leopards are there, sambar are there, mugger crocodiles are also there. If you look at the flora part, 104 orchid species, many endemic to tiger region, mix of salt tree as well as most moist deciduous as well as semi-evergreen forests are also provided. What are the prominent rivers drained by? Rivers such as Uda Balanga, it's also called Buralanga, Palpala and Bandhan and Khairi. Dio as well as Salandi rivers are the most important rivers from this particular region. Next, Eravukulam National Park. So very important. So Tamil Nadu and Kerala have decided to conduct a synchronized survey of mountain Ungulate, it's Nilgiri tar antardani, to commemorate 50th anniversary. Therefore, gives a scope of prelims question, 50th anniversary. Establishment of Eraviculam National Park. Location, Idukki district of Kerala. Climate, the park among the world's wettest areas. Heavy rainfall, especially during southwest as well as returning monsoons. Next, grasslands with shola forests. This is the national park, and this is how it looks from inside. Orchids, Bragaratis viti, famous for hosting Neela Kurinji, the flower which blooms once in 12 years. Therefore, this gives you a scope of prelims question. Once in 12 years because it's a rare thing. Host 29 mammal species, endangered Nilgiri tar is also there. Atlas moth, 100 plus butterfly species, and 20 amphibians are also provided in this particular ring. Next, Agastya Malai Biosphere Reserve. That's where it is. Supreme Court decision has been brought, therefore gives a scope of prelims question. Directed the Central Power Committee to conduct extensive survey of the Agastya Malai landscape to identify non-forestry activities and encroachments. It is recognized by UNESCO's scientific, it is recognized, therefore becomes a prelims question. Next, it's in the southern part of Western Ghats, spread across Tamil Nadu as well as Kerala. Shandari Wildlife Sanctuary, Pepara Wildlife Sanctuary, Nayar Wildlife Sanctuary, and Kalakat Mundaturai Tiger Reserve. So all these things become scope for prelims questions. What this beautiful place suggests, therefore becomes prelims area very, very important. Significance behind the name. The name Agastya Malai came from the great Hindu sage Agastya Muni, whose statue is situated in the top of the peak. And flora, around 2,254 species of higher plants are provided. Arogya Pacha, one of the most famous and rare medicinal plant, is found here. Next, fauna, Asian elephant, tiger as well as Nilgiri tar are the important faunas present here. Next, Dwaraka, the Lord Krishna. ASI Dwaraka, Bait Dwaraka, to ascertain antiquity of recovered objects through scientific analysis of sediments, archaeological and marine deposits. Location, Gujarat, mouth of the Gulf of Kutch facing Arabian Sea. Excavation, onshore Dwarka was first excavated in 1963. Exploration 1980s by NIO, that is National Institute of Oceanography. Next, Pilikod Rayamangalam temple, very, very important. This is how the beautiful temple looks. So, century-old Pilikod Rayamangalam temple has been recently ended all its restrictions based on caste and opened its Nalabaram, the sacred inner quarter for all the communities. Therefore, this gives us a scope of prelims question because it is against the casting, removal of casting. Therefore, prelims question. It's present in Kasargod district. Therefore, this gives us a goddess Bhadrakali Bhagavati, referred for her fierce and protective nature. So the god is also very important. Therefore, prelims question. So Rayamangalam temple, Bhadrakali god. Next, major festival celebrated: Tayyam Tira Kalyam festival and Tiraktika festival. Very, very important for prelims. Temple earlier restricted Nalabalam entry to select caste, sparking reform movement. After a group's entry, legal action was considered, marking a key moment for its push for caste-free temple access. Therefore, it becomes a very, very important topic for prelims. Next, Subansiri Dam. This is how the dam looks like. So why this is very important? Completion of Subansiri Dam project approaches triggered downstream impact among people. Located at Subansiri River, a tributary of Brahmaputra River. Therefore, Subansiri Brahmaputra gives a post of prelims question at the border of Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. So, Subansiri is which river's tributary? Brahmaputra River. Next, run of the river hydroelectric project, 2000 megawatt. Power supply, India's renewable energy, domestic economy is good. Seismic safety is good. Floods in Brahmaputra Valley can endanger downstream ecosystems and habitats can become threatful. That is because the community is against it. Next, Pamban Bridge, very, very important. This is how the bridge looks like. Prime Minister of India recently inaugurated the new Pamban railway bridge in Tamil Nadu, island of Tamil Nadu coast near Rameshwaram Island and Ramantapuram as the main line. India's first vertical lift sea bridge. Vertical lift, it lifts like this. Therefore, that gives the prelims question. And is a British era bridge and has been lifespan of 58 years. It replaces that bridge. Next, constructed with stainless steel and high-grade protective paint, automated electromagnetic lift system for ship passage. Ease of business, good. Connectivity between Rameshwaram and the mainland. Semi-high-speed trains. advanced engineering and iconic design. Important places for March as well as April. Places in news of month May. We have finished till April. So today's first is Vadam Port. That should be spelled as R. So this is where the Vedam port is there. Vedam International Seaport in Kerala was inaugurated as India's first transshipment port project. Since it is the first part, it becomes very important for prelims. So what about it? India's first dedicated container transshipment port it is. It is strategically located near one of the world's busiest sea trade routes. Therefore, very important. So the sea trade route is something like this. See, this route is very important. So the port shipment will become very useful. Next important, Bagram airfield. So this in Afghanistan, Kabul, Pakistan, Islamabad, India. So this is where the port is. Airfield. The US President, why it is in news, recently claimed that China has occupied the Bagram airfield, which American forces have vacated weeks before pulling out from the Afghanistan 2021. Why this port is very important? Bagram airfield is the largest airbase in Afghanistan, located 60 kilometers north of Kabul in the strategic Parwan province. Therefore, strategically it becomes very important. So, Bagram airfield. So, you have to remember the countries which are around it. Afghanistan, Pakistan and India. That is a major point. Next important, North Kivu. This is North Kivu in Congo. May 2025, violence escalated in this Kivu region. It's located in the provincial border Lake Kivu in the Eastern Democratic DRC, Congo, with the capital city of Goma. So this is how it is. Recently, violence came into this region, therefore it becomes very important. Next, Kherson and Odisha region. So if you observe this, why this is very important? The Ukrainian drone strike killed 7 Russian-held Kherson, while the Russian attack on Odisha killed 2 on 1st May 2025. Odisha located in the southwestern Ukraine. It is bordered from Moldova in west, Mykolaiv in east, and Black Sea in the south. Therefore, this becomes very important for prelims. So these are the major points. So if you observe Moldova, this is Kherson and Odisha. These are the regions. So if you observe all at the bottom of Ukraine, so mapping is very important. That is what you have to understand. Next, what about this region? The Kherson region is situated southern Ukraine, right west bank of lower Dnieper river. Therefore, this becomes very important to the Black Sea coast. It is also close to Crimean Peninsula, part of Ukraine, which Russia has annexed in 2014 and which contains a number of its military bases. It's only one of the Ukraine's regional capitals to have fallen to the Russian hands. Why this is very important? Kherson is the only region which fell into the hands of Russia. That is the reason it becomes important. Next, Tripoli. So that is what you have to understand, Tripoli. So Libya, if you observe, top of Libya, that means in the Libyan country. Surrounding countries is Tunisia, which is very important, and Egypt to the right, Algeria, Niger, Chad and Sudan. So Tripoli, and here Mediterranean Sea. So tipmost of Mediterranean Sea. Tripoli erupted in violence. Militia leader Abdel Ghani Ali Kiki was killed, leading to deadly clashes. The government imposed a lot of things on it. Capital city of Libya, located in the northwest of the country, close to Mediterranean Sea. Located in North Africa, comprises 3 historical regions. One in the northwest, which is Tripolitania. Next, Krynaika in the east, and Fezzan in the southwest. Bounded by Egypt to the east, Tunisia and Algeria to the west, and Chad and Niger and Sudan to the south. Next, Vembanad Lake, very important. So if you observe this, the Vembanad Lake regeneration project is very important. Vembanad Lake is shrinking, diminished by 27%, which is very bad. 1990 mainly due to land encroachment. So the reason is land encroachment, therefore it becomes very important for prelims. Next, longest lake in India, largest in Kerala. That is a very important point. 96.5 kilometers long, spans districts of Alappuzha, Coam and Ernakulam and forms a part of Vembanad and called wetland system. That is the reason, very important, which is recognized by the Ramsar site. 6 major rivers flow through this are Pamba, Achankovil, Manimala, Minachil, Moipura and Periyar. These are the 6 major rivers, and these gives the scope of prelims questions from this particular topic. Next, it's strong due to various reasons such as human-induced interventions, land reclamation and natural sedimentation. 5-year Vembanad Lake Regeneration Project was launched in 2025 to regenerate the lake, inspired by Namami Ganga project. That is very, very important. Next, Cray Morgin, a new cave-dwelling fish has been discovered in Cray. This one, the Cray Morgin is located in the eastern hills of Khasi, Meghalaya. A news article also popular from this, so very important. It's 209-meter high natural cave composed of calcareous sandstones. So this gives a very important scope for prelims question. What kind of a stone is it? Consists of several stalagmites formed as a result of weathering, calcium carbonate deposition and dripping of mineral enriched liquid. There is a Shivalanga structure especially on that, and the result of giant pillar formation and is natural and accurate formation of Hindu deity. So that is the reason it becomes very, very important, this cave. Topics from the May month. Revise, that's the only strategy. 1 question or 2 questions will come, so be ready for it. Do June month 2025. So in this about 8 to 9 important places are there. First is Shipkila Pass, very, very important. We have done a video on this exclusively. Please check on this video on channel. Complete details are there, so you can check it on it. Context, Shipkila Pass, which was closed. This is the Shipkila Pass. So if you observe, China, Himachal Pradesh, very close border, closed due to series of geopolitical tensions, has been reopened, and without permit system they are allowing it through the pass. So without earlier permit system it is not there, especially for domestic tourists. Therefore it becomes very, very important. It is a sign of India-China diplomacy. Now location, Kinnaur district of Himachal Pradesh, acts as a potential Indo-China trade route under historical Indo-Tibetan trade arrangements. So that is a major point. It is one of the 3 open trading posts between India and China, others being Nathula in Sikkim and Lipule in Uttarakhand. So this becomes a scope for prelims question. They might ask you, what are the 3 accepted passes for trading routes between India and China? So 3, one is Shipkila Pass, one is Nathula Pass, and one is Lipulek Pass. So which states? Sikkim, Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. They might give you a match the following question based on it. Next, what are the nearby rivers of it? Satluj River enters India from Tibet through this pass. Therefore, this becomes a scope of prelims question. Through this pass, which river passes? That kind of question can come. Historically part of ancient trans-Himalayan trans routes. Traditional trade items include wood, salt, handicrafts and barley. So this becomes a scope of prelims question. What products are traded through this route? Next, volcanic eruption Indonesia. Mount Lewotawee, Laki has recently erupted in eastern Indonesia, causing a lot of eruptions. Mount Lewotawee, Laki, very, very important for prelims questions. East Nusa Tenggara province of Indonesia on the island of Flores. It is one of the 2 volcanic peaks forming the Lewotawee Street. Other is Lewotawee Perempura. So all these things are very, very important with respect to this. So this one is a different category place, very, very important if you observe. So Indonesia, Mount Lewotawee, Laki, that is, it recently got erupted in the eastern part of Indonesia. It belongs to East Nusa Tenggara province. 2 volcanic peaks are forming, Lewotawee stratovolcanoes, and other is Lewotawee Perempuran. So whenever the word Lewotawee comes, whenever this word comes, you have to remember it is Indonesia. That is the scope of prelims questions for this particular volcano. Next, Canadian rocks may be the oldest on earth according to scientific data. Let's have a quick glance. Canada and the rocks. Now, recently scientists identified what could be the oldest rocks on earth from formation in Canada. The Nuogatik Greenstone belt has been known for these ancient rocks, plains of streaked grey stone, grey color like this, on the eastern shore of Hudson Bay in Quebec. This gives a scope of prelims question. Oldest rocks are formed from which part of the country? Canada. These rocks have unique geological features, making them a very critical site for studies for Earth's early history, how Earth rocks were formed. Potentially the oldest known rock on Earth, therefore that gives a scope of prelims question because it is oldest, therefore scope of prelims question will be there heavily on this. Next, airstrike or Iranian places. These are all the places. US-Iran strikes, Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan. US and Israel have attacked the 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, and because of this there was a lot of diplomatic crisis, which you all know. Fordo, underground uranium enrichment center facility is there, therefore that scopes for prelims question. Natanz, main uranium enrichment facility, another prelims question. And Isfahan, uranium conversion facility, that gives a scope of prelims question. So all these, they might ask, which of the following places are attacked places by the US-Israel teams on nuclear disarmament? So they might ask you Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan, and they'll give you another 2, 3 and say which of them is correct. So such kind of questions can come from this kind of topic. Next, Strait of Hormuz, full video done, please check it out. Full video available on channel. Strait of Hormuz, I have done complete detailed analysis of that Strait of Hormuz, please check it on it. So Strait of Hormuz, this is the strait. So Israel-Iran skirmishes increase the threats of closing the down of Strait of Hormuz. Most important choke points, very very important for prelims. It is a narrow channel, approximately 30 miles wide at the lowest point, Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman. So Persian Gulf with respect to Oman, that is the only route which is available. 20% of the global oil and gas flows through this narrow shipping lane of Gulf. Therefore, it becomes very very important question for prelims. Boundaries are very important. Iran, south by Oman and the UAE. So these are all the things. So this gives a scope of prelims question. What are the boundaries of Strait of Hormuz? Iran, Oman and United Arab Emirates, UAE. Now they might give you a match the following saying south, north and east and west, who are there. So such kind of questions can come from this particular topic. Next, Binsar Wildlife Sanctuary. It has been recently in news. So in Uttarakhand, this is the Binsar Wildlife Sanctuary. A fire tragedy occurred in park necessitating Air Force to control the wildfire. Protected wildlife area situated 30 kilometers at Almora in Kumaon region of the state of Uttarakhand in northern part of the country. What is the climate? Upper part of the sanctuary is dense oak forest, while lower part is pine forest and relatively warmer. So this gives a scope of prelims question. In this wildlife sanctuary, what are the forests available? Dense oak forests and pine forests at the lower part. So that is the whole major points you can get questions for prelims from. Next, Cyprus. If you observe this, Nicosia, Mediterranean Sea, very close by. Syria and Lebanon are the boundary countries, and Cyprus is this one. Indian Prime Minister visited Cyprus. Bilateral meetings happened, therefore that gives a scope of prelims question because the Prime Minister visited that place. It belongs to geographically Western Asia, which is Middle East, and politically it is related to Europe. So that gives a scope of prelims question. So it is a member of the EU, though it actually located in the Middle Asia, in the Middle East. Though it is located in the Middle East, it is a part of the EU. That is a very important point. So that gives a scope of prelims question because location is in Middle East, but it is a part of the EU. Therefore, it gives an important question, and Prime Minister also visited that place. Therefore, it becomes more important. So scope of prelims question is very much. Next, Mount Etna, it's in news. Sicily, very important. Italy is a boundary country. So Ionian Sea and Tyrrhenian Sea and Mediterranean Sea. So it's an island. Therefore, it is surrounded by all waters. Mount Etna erupted once again, putting smoke and stretching across several miles. UNESCO World Heritage Site, one of the most active volcanoes. Therefore, gives a scope of prelims question and recently in news. According to UNESCO, it is the world's longest documented records of historic volcanic activity. Roughly stands at an impressive 3,300 meters, roughly 4 times the height of the Burj Khalifa. Therefore, UNESCO site, eruption, regular, therefore becomes very important. They might ask you questions about what are the seas surrounding it. Mediterranean Sea, Ionian Sea, and Tyrrhenian Sea. So just remember like that, it becomes very, very easy. So Mount Etna, Sicily. So you can just remember the seas as MIT. MIT. You know Mitsubishi Institute of Technology. So MIT are the seas. Mediterranean, Ionian, and Tyrrhenian. All these seas surround this particular beautiful volcano Mount Etna. Next, Male Mahadeshwara Wildlife Sanctuary, Male Mahadeshwara Wildlife Sanctuary. So very important. Tigress and 4 cubs were found dead in the park, which is flagged security concerns. Junction of Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats in Chamarajanagara district in Karnataka. Very important for prelims. Where is this district? Karnataka. Borders Bilgiri Rangaswamy Temple Tiger Reserve. Therefore, this gives a scope of prelims questions. And Satyamangalam Tiger Reserve and Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary. It's a culmination of all these. Therefore, gives a heavy scope of prelims question coming from this particular topic. So this is the whole point. The location and the boundaries are very important. Not more than that. Next, contain dry deciduous forests with scrub forests, patches of moist deciduous, semi-evergreen, evergreen and shola forests at different altitudes. Next, flora, Enogases latifolia, Boswellia serrata, and Hartwickia binata, and Chloroxylin sweetenia. So these are all the important flora which is available. Fauna, if you look at it, notable wildlife includes tiger, elephant, leopard, wild dog, bison, sambar, spotted deer, and barking deer. These are all the important flora and fauna which are available in this particular place. So that's all, and have a nice day.